Jätkame noorte lainel ja seame oma fookuse Eesti koolinoortele ja rõõm on kutsuda siia ette Tiia Perteli, Tervise Arengu Instituudi Tervisedendamise osakonna juhataja. Ja teema siis väga põnev Eesti kooliõpilaste tervise ja arengu tervise ja tervisekäitumise.
Influences of school children's health and health behavior. So this will be a very interesting presentation. Yeah, the stage is yours. Thank you. After these very emotional presentations, it's hard to follow with these very interesting things that I will talk about, namely numbers. And especially considering that we will soon be having lunch. I'm very happy to see that at the National Institute for Health Development we have, in the light of the new research on the health behavior of school children, there are positive news, good news about Estonian school children. And the good results come from collective contribution. And this is also something that has been stressed by the previous presenters, that we're all responsible. We need to contribute collectively. But to introduce our fresh study on health behavior of school-aged children, we published this data in the beginning of this week. And the report on this study will be published in the first quarter of the next year. It takes a little bit more time to analyze this data in depth. This study was done in parallel in 44 countries, and it's the 6th time Estonia has participated in this study. So we have data for the 4 previous studies, and this data is so good that we can share it with you. The health behavior of the Estonian school children shows very interesting trends that we can now follow. When people talk about health, they tend to talk about negative results and negative factors. But it's also very important when we're talking about health to talk about positive things as well that we already have. Unfortunately, there aren't that many positive factors we can talk about, but I'm happy to say that most Estonian school children thinks that their health is good. In this study, bad is considered if a student thinks his health is satisfactory or very bad. But as you can see, there are very few children who think their health is very bad. However, there are students who think their health is worse than others. There are these students. Especially in boys, we see a positive trend. Even though we say that the most of our students say their health is good, then if the health is worse than students think it is, or they think their health is worse, it's strongly connected to the environment the students live in. If family relations are bad, then young people also think their health is bad. The difference is threefold in this case. This also applies to the use of any sorts of drugs. All of the young people who use drugs, they think their health is bad. And of course, there's a link to depressive episodes as well. If we compare, well, we don't have the data for 2014 for other countries, so we can't compare that. We have data from 2010 from other countries, but in this comparison, in 44 countries, then Estonia is in the middle. When it comes to depressive episodes, then of course we don't ask students whether they have had depressive episodes. What is asked is whether students have felt very sad or hopeless during 2 weeks, for every day during 2 weeks, that they have given up all their regular activities. And if this happens regularly, then that can be considered a fall in mood. We can say that 30% of school children have had depressive episodes in the past year. And we can see from this girls have more depressive episodes, and older girls have more depressive episodes. Comparing the years, it seems the situation is worse, but the thing is, this question has been included in the study in only 3 years, and when we compare the situation to 2006, then the situation is pretty much the same, but the result was a little bit lower in 2010. Depressive episodes are more common in the students. Depressive episodes are more common in students who have evaluated their academic success or home relations more negatively. The environment the children live in does have a strong effect on their health. We don't know if this is good news. This year is the year of music in Estonia. Last year was the year of movement, and everybody turned more attention towards exercise and moving around. This is a different slide. I skipped ahead a little bit. But I'm happy to say that in our recent study shows positive effects. Previously, we've seen that there are more and more overweight students in our schools, but this last study shows that the number of overweight students hasn't risen, but it has remained more or less the same. So I guess could be a good thing. But when we talk about comparing different countries, then the countries in the top, of course, are the United States. In 2010, Finland, Slovenia, and Croatia had more overweight students than we did. But in 2010, the Netherlands, Lithuania, Denmark, and Belgium had less overweight students. Being overweight has a lot to do with how much people take in energy and how much energy they spend. The WHO says that every child should be moderately physically active for at least 60 minutes every day. But bad news for Estonia is that there are only 16.4% of children who are physically active for at least 60 minutes. However, good news is that the number for 2010 was even smaller, so there is a rising trend here. In the same vein, when we want to look at this in a more positive light, and when we say that when children are physically active for at least an hour 5 days a week, then this percentage is 40 in boys and 30% in girls. Of course, mental and physical health are interconnected. We can compare what this has to do with. We can see that in those families where children think their economical situation is worse, then these children have less opportunities for physical exercise. This is definitely an important factor here. How the society helps a family cope, then we can see this clearly in our young people's health. More good news. When we're talking about students' weight, then we see that the weight has remained more or less the same. But regarding diet, this has improved a little bit. When we look at how much vegetables children eat, of course it would be great if everybody ate at least 5 handfuls of vegetables a day. But boys and girls who ate vegetables every day at least once, then there are more and more of these kinds of children every year. So this trend is going up. However, we still have a long way to go to reach that 5 handfuls. When we compare ourselves to other countries, based on the data from 2010, and then regarding eating fruits and vegetables, then Estonia has the worst result. So that is definitely something we have to turn more and more attention to.
Now, more on the topic about eating behavior, eating habits, then all kinds of sweet drinks and sweets, the share of those has not been very high in Estonia, and luckily that has remained the same, so it hasn't risen. When it comes to energy drinks, a few years ago we had a huge problem among young people with that. However, we see a significant decrease in that. There is about 3-4 times less energy drink consumption, so that's good news as well. Now, a topic that we have also already touched upon today is that more and more we see different media around us, and in light of Tõnis's presentation, the technology is something that you can't always trust. So we can go online with children, we can use other media. However, what's important is also that we also have personal contact on a daily basis, so that children aren't nailed to a screen for too long of a time. But what we have summarized here in this study are 3 questions about screen time, daily screen time, watching TV, and so on. Watching TV in Estonia is on the decline over the past few years. The second question, however, that touched on video games, that has not changed over the past few years. And the third question had to do with everyday online usage, communication, using a computer, tablets, phones, and so on. That's something that has considerably increased over the past years. But when we look at the results on a school day, which is on the left side, the child is sitting down for quite a long time. So about 70% of all children, those represented in red and blue, do spend more than 2 hours sitting or before or looking at a screen. The interpreter apologizes, cannot hear the question without a microphone. Yes, here they did study with the last question, actually watching TV or watching a screen, looking at a screen. Now, this is actually self-reported by the children, so we do have to take into account that these times may not be 100% accurate. However, when I looked at the background information and the summaries, then in other countries, it seems to be about the same, and it's quite high as well. The next question, or the next section, had to do with narcotics and smoking, substance abuse. Now, these are results for smoking. And you have the share of non-smokers, the percentage of non-smokers among boys on the left and girls on the right. And we do see an increasing trend of non-smokers in both columns. Daily smokers among students. I pulled together all age groups so that we can see the decline more clearly. And it's good to see that those who are smoking daily, there are less and less of them among our students. So this might lead to a question that, okay, while smoking is going down, we have tobacco that's the snus type that you put under your lip, and you have e-cigarettes. Of course, we also included that in our study. However, if we add those as well, then we grouped it under tobacco products, and we still got the percentage of 4.4 among those from 11 to 15 years old. And that is still less than we had when we had the last study. So when it comes to tobacco, then we are really happy about the positive results. And here we also have the other tobacco products, the snus type of tobacco. It's 13% have tried it. The e-cigarettes, 33% have tried, and hookahs, 28% of students have tried them. When it comes to 15-year-olds, in 2014, we had 19 and 7%, 19 among boys, 7% among girls, but last year we had 16% among boys and among girls from 10 to 7%, to 10 in 2010, and yet last year it was 7%. Another problem when it comes to substance abuse is, of course, alcohol. And though we do see some positive trends here, then in all, the youth in Estonia do start drinking at a very early age. At the same time, as you can see here, you also have those who do not consume alcohol, and those numbers are increasing, boys on the left, girls on the right, and across different ages, it's steadily increasing. And when we compare 11-year-olds in different countries, then our indicators are quite okay, but if we look at 13 and 15-year-olds, the indicators for consuming alcohol are worse. With Latvia and Lithuania, we are among the 6 worst countries. And if we look at getting drunk, then we are somewhere in the middle. But when it comes to our students, it's good to see that young people are starting to use alcohol later and later, and risky alcohol consumption is also starting later. Students are getting drunk properly at a later age. And we have a considerable decrease among those students who are repeat drinkers, who are drinking frequently. Now, one area where we do not see any difference is the use of marijuana. It is still popular among our students. Every 10th student has tried marijuana, and we can clearly see that various risk behaviors are connected. So those young people who have tried narcotics, 90% have smoked, 94% have drank alcohol, and 74% have gotten drunk. And time-wise, there hasn't been much difference. Now, bullying in school, in the environment where our young people are every day, even though we do see a slight improving trend, then still half of 11-year-olds have experienced bullying in school. So we do see improvement. The numbers of those experiencing it are going down. But if we summarize all the health behavior of our children and youth, it is good to see that most students, 88%, think that their health is good. I hope that it is also good news that weight increase, overweightedness, it's reached a stable plateau. We hope that it won't increase. And in general, we can say that the students' health behavior has increased. Alcohol and tobacco, trying it, experimenting with it has decreased. Students are getting drunk later, and those who are drinking till they are drunk frequently, those are decreasing. Now, illegal substances. Now, the debate about marijuana, its legality, I would have to say is unfortunately leaning towards describing it as something beneficial. Bullying in school is decreasing. I hope it will continue to decrease, but still we see from the numbers that if half of 11-year-olds have experienced it, then it still is a problem to deal with. So in summary, as Margaret and Dennis said, the environment that our children are in on a daily basis at home, in school, and during their leisure time, it's so important. And I think that the results that we see based on our young people are improvements. It's the result of the work of so many different participators, stakeholders, and it shows that we have to continue with that work. We have to make sure that these changes last and get better. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tiia Perteli from the National Institute of Health Development. Do we have any questions for her? Thank you very much, Tiia, for that first overview. And in addition, I would like to add that if you're talking about hookahs and so on, then the city of Tallinn has done a study in 2012 and 2014 among 3,000 students. So the hookahs and such are not as popular anymore. People are using marijuana is more popular. So but what's worrying me more is 44% of 15-year-old girls are depressed. These numbers are going up too, but maybe we should look at them and see how they were doing before, what they were like when they were 11, and why these numbers are going up. Now, on the subject of narcotics, there have been several studies conducted in Estonia. There are many of them, and sometimes it seems like there are too many studies, but I think when it comes to this subject, it's good to have more. So if the city of Tallinn also has done research, then we should definitely compare and look at them. But when it comes to the youth mental health and other topics, then definitely the girls who are depressed, that's a very important one, and that's certainly one that we will talk more about today. And the fact that there was so much interest towards this conference, it shows that mental health of youth is a very important topic that we have to pay more attention to. And if you didn't catch all the numbers, then on the website of the National Institute of Health Development, you see all these figures, all these materials are available there.